One day later, it appears Mookie Betts is feeling better and looking to play. Is that the right move for the Dodgers right now? Let's get into it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. This is a daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube, like we are here right now on Monday night. This is your first time listening, watching. Welcome. I'm Samperio. That's Jeff Snider, and we are Locked On Dodgers. We've been Locked On Dodgers for 6 seasons now, going into year 7, and we've covered the team in our own ways over the past decade and continue to do so as we talk Dodgers every Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday, however the days shake out, if we're going live or if you listen live, whatever it is. And Jeff, we're here to talk Dodgers once again, and we're going to start with Mookie Betts once again because it's a day later. We got a different update. Mookie Betts, whatever antibiotics or medication, whatever they gave him helped. He was able to hold food down, and it looks like he wants to play in Tuesday's game in Anaheim. And if he would play in that game, I would imagine he's going to play on Thursday.
Yeah, I guess so. I hope it was something over the counter just so Mookie can get an endorsement deal out of this because he went from seeming very unlikely to play to now, it looks like he's going to play. Last night, he was very frustrated. He hadn't been able to hold food down in a week and a half, and today he held food down. So something magical happened. But that's how these sicknesses work. When you don't know what it is, you also can't really predict when it's going to get better. And if it was just remaining irritation in his stomach and the bug was actually gone, then eventually irritation clears up. But all in all, it's one of those things where it's good news for sure that Mookie's feeling better, because that means he is on the path to regaining his strength and all of those things. Is it the right decision for him to play? I'm still not sure. And, for the most part, that's okay, because I am not one of Mookie's doctors. I am not on the Dodgers medical staff. All I know is what I've read in the media. Just like everybody else listening to this episode, we can make our guesses based on things. And I've seen plenty of wild guesses about what it might be. But ultimately, if there's no risk of him injuring himself, then I think it's fine for him to play. That's the part that worries me, that, if he plays while he's weakened, is he going to pull something?
Yeah, that's the biggest part. And, that was one of the rationales when they mentioned initially of Mookie not playing in Japan, was just that even if he was feeling better or was up for it, there's a little bit more susceptible to tissue injuries, pulling the hammy, stuff like that. Realistically, doctor's probably going to clear you to play. He might give a recommendation that, hey, if you play compromised, it could, affect you, or whatever the case is. Yeah, without knowing, again, I feel like 100% of doctors not going to hold you back from a stomach bug of playing. It's just a matter of, does he get, anything else beyond, okay, you're cleared to play. I'm still in the camp of hold him out a little bit, maybe let a few days pass, but I guess they have till Thursday to make that decision. If he holds down meals the next 2 days, then, I guess what is the reason to hold him back other than just being extra super cautious?
And that's another thing to mention, that, the reasoning for him looking likely to play wasn't that he held food down. It was that he held food down and went through an entire baseball workout and came out of it fine. And so, a baseball workout, we are looking at, how he moves, how the flexibility is, how the muscle strength is, all of those things. If Mookie is healthy, even if he's 20 pounds lighter than normal as he gains that weight back, Mookie doesn't necessarily need to be a home run hitter to be a valuable hitter, to be a valuable defender. I think that there's plenty of reason to think that a diminished Mookie for 3 weeks or whatever is probably still a better baseball player than a full strength Miguel Rojas.
Yeah, and if there was a month to kind of have to work your way back into it, this first month for the Dodgers is that month. They have so many days, like have at least one day off every week. They travel a little bit, then they come back home. Like there's, he talked about if he plays, it'll be a little bit of an uphill battle that first month or so, just kind of getting his feet back under him. And I know yesterday a couple people mentioned like the water weight will probably add, 10 pounds or so. Anyways, he was drinking smoothies and stuff, so he might have retained some of that water weight. But yeah, obviously he'll gain it back pretty fast, but it's just a matter of the strength. And if, he's fine with the way where he's at, he knows his body, then yeah, go ahead and put him out there. I would err on the side of caution, but again, ultimately, if this happened in the middle of the season and Mookie, missed a few days and with the stomach bug, but was still able to play, or just didn't feel so great, I probably wouldn't, say, oh yeah, put him on the IL. I think it's just a matter of this is where we're at. But if he's fine, like I said, if he holds food down the next 3 days, he'll probably put on at least 10 of those pounds. And if he can get through workouts and doesn't feel, because he felt lightheaded in Japan, that was another thing. Like he just didn't have that. Maybe they'll get their protein and all that stuff some way.
Yeah, you could see when Mookie did an interview with Harold Reynolds on MLB Network, and you could tell Mookie did not want to be doing that interview. He didn't want to be upright. He wanted to be laying down somewhere. And so the fact that he's feeling better, you could see watching the video of him with the media last night, like he feels much better. You can tell he's himself. It's just the physical aspect of it. And Elisheva, I don't think, liked my comment about a diminished Mookie being better than a full strength Rojas. Said Rojas gets no respect. I definitely meant it more as a compliment towards Mookie. Rojas is what he is. The Dodgers acquired him to be a backup infielder, not to be a starter, and he's had to be a starter way more than they expected during his time with the Dodgers. But I think it's important to remember that as much as we want Mookie to play well, and we want Mookie to be healthy, and we want the Dodgers to win the World Series again, the Dodgers want that even more. The Dodgers are not going to put Mookie in a position where he's going to hurt himself. They will even protect him from himself if necessary. We've seen plenty of examples over the last decade or so of how big picture the Dodgers look at things, especially in March and April, early in a season. And so they're not going to risk anything long-term with Mookie. If there's any chance of him hurting himself, he's not going to play.
Yeah. And, it could be as simple as you play a couple games, then you take Saturday off, then you already have Sunday off, play a couple games, you take Wednesday off, then you have Thursday off. Like I said, this first month really lends itself to something like this for the Dodgers and for Mookie. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, Tyler Glasnow was on the mound on Monday in Anaheim, and he looked really good. The Angels lineup is not very good, but that's not what matters these days. It's all about Glasnow and his health, and we're going to talk about what the Dodgers' plan for him this year is, how we think we're going to manage him, and what we expect to see out of him. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, and that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. And, I got my protein powder right here, and I'm usually not you can kind of see it. I'm usually not a fan of chocolate protein powder. I'm usually more of a lights guy, maybe like a vanilla or like some kind of birthday cake flavor or something like that. But this chocolate one is really good. It's, it's just like having a little bottle of Nesquik or something like that after a workout, and it gets you a lot more protein and a lot better for you than some Nesquik. So make sure to go check out Just Ingredients for whatever you need, whether it's pre-workout, post-workout, whatever you need. If you just need more protein in your life, if you need that energy boost, they got a lot of different things. So go check out all things Just Ingredients at justingredients.us. And if you use the code LOCKEDONMLB, you'll get 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow just.ingredients on Instagram. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. This happened to me more than a few times. You check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, Dodger tickets, Dodger gear, whatever you're getting into. It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, though. It's a complete financial command center. All your accounts, all your investments, all your spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building some wealth. When you start using Monarch Money, you'll realize just how much you're spending on certain things. Probably hats for me, probably Dodger gear for you, or Dodger tickets, or whatever it is. There's a lot of things you can spend on. But Monarch Money will help you budget smarter and save more, and it's all in one. You don't have to have multiple apps. It's all in the one app. Check your finances, track that spending, and even plan some long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's 50% off at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers a listen of your day. First listen, last listen, any part of your day. We appreciate you. Those of you that are everydayers that listen or watch every day, we appreciate you. And if you're new, this is your first time listening or watching, we appreciate you and hope that you can build yourself up to an everydayer. And remember, if you're on YouTube already watching us, you can check out Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. And once we get into season, you can check out the Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox, available here on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. All right, Jeff. Tyler Glasnow had a great day in Anaheim. You know, he pitched 5 innings, struck out 9, and, you know, looked his dominant self. The off speed was working really well. He was placing the fastball. And, you know, with Glasnow, the ability has never really been a question. It's more of the health and durability and everything else. And for the Dodgers this year, when you see Glasnow, you know, kind of dealing this way, and you think about Glasnow making his, you know, last year he was pretty much healthy up until the All-Star break, and then, you know, fell apart a little bit after that. First of all, what do you expect from Glasnow just on the mound? You know, it seems to be adjusted to whatever he made adjustments to his delivery in order to try to stay healthy.
Yeah, the stuff looks really good. So that's always the big concern when you're making adjustments, is that it will affect the stuff. But I mean, he hit 98 tonight. The curveball was filthy. Gave up a leadoff homer to Taylor Ward on a poorly placed fastball, and that was kind of the last bad pitch he made of the night. Second pitch of the game was his only bad pitch, and looked really good. And I think with Glasnow more than a lot, it's important to temper our expectations as far as quantity goes. I expect the quality to be really, really good. I think the goal for them is for him to avoid injury so he can stay healthy. But I think the main goal for them, for all of them, is for him to be healthy in October. And that is not necessarily the same goal as him staying healthy all season. And so whether that means giving him time off or, you know, being extra vigilant about, oh, I have a tiny bit of soreness. Okay, 15-day IL. You're sitting for a little bit, basically getting out ahead of everything possible. And they tried to do that last year. You know, we saw around the All-Star break, they sat him with the back issue, I believe it was. And, you know, they're just going to be extra vigilant there. And hopefully some combination of the tweaks he made will keep him healthier. They'll be even more vigilant about sitting him when they need to, and he can throw 120 really good innings in the regular season and be healthy in October.
Yeah, it's tough because we don't know anything really about injuries. Like, does overthrowing, you know, we know that velocity wise, if guys that are, you know, trying to throw as hard as they can, that probably is a big factor. But, you know, for Glasnow, I'm sure he could probably throw 100, but he's not trying to. You know, he sits up in the upper 90s and, you know, has off-speed pitches. And you can tell how the height and, like, extension he gets just completely full hitters, because his curveball sometimes doesn't even or barely hits the dirt in front of the plate. Like, it's like a 55-foot curveball, and guys are swinging like they have no idea what's coming out of his hand. So, you know, in terms of performance, yeah, he's great. You know, we saw him last year have some dominant performances. And it's kind of tough because you don't know exactly, you know, how to handle it. You could hold him to 5 innings every start. You could hold him to 80 pitches every start, and he could still get hurt. And hopefully, you know, they're banking on the delivery part of it, being a little bit of a help, maybe him kind of realizing, hey, I need to speak up when things are happening, kind of like what you mentioned. And with everyone, I'm sure they're going to have some caution and they're going to have some. And, every year we talk about this and we talk about, okay, we want guys healthy for October and everything else. And then every year we have a game where Tyler Glasnow's has 10 strikeouts through 5 innings and he comes out at like 65 pitches. And we're like, well, why? And it's like, okay, well, if the Dodgers were up 5-1 already, so, they're going to go to their bullpen. They're going to hope that he figures it out that way and not push him if they don't need to. So I can see a lot of that happening. But ultimately, it's tough because you just don't really know how things are going to happen.
Yeah, and the other thing, though, last year that the Dodgers realized is pulling your pitchers early is a quick recipe to burn out a bullpen. We're going to talk more about the bullpen in the next segment, and that's going to be another one of their goals is to not burn out the bullpen. So I do suspect they would be more likely to skip starts here and there than to pull him at 65 pitches or whatever. And obviously once Ohtani's ready, so they actually go to the 6-man rotation, then you probably are expecting 90 to 100 pitches from Glasnow every time out because he has that extra day of rest built in every single time. But also, when you factor in Ohtani and Kershaw and Gonsolin and whoever else, depending on how Bobby Miller and Landon Knack pitch in the minor leagues, Justin Robleski, all these guys, and we've talked a lot about it, that it's not a phantom IL as in they're making up injuries, but it's we'll call it the hair trigger IL. Okay, something hurts a tiny bit, boom, you're down. And that's what I think we're going to see because
it's like a pre-October. Like if it was October, I would be pitching, but it's not.
But anything that you feel anything, okay, you're sitting for 2 weeks, and that will give other people a chance. And there probably will come a time when they can't do that because injuries pile up or whatever, or Bobby Miller doesn't bounce back in the minors, whatever it is. But overall, I think their goal with all this depth was to be able to have a hair trigger IL and use it early and often.
Yeah, and Steven Nelson and Eric Harris talked a little bit about it on the broadcast of the depth isn't 1 through 5. Like the depth is like 1 through 12. And, that's really it. We'll get into a little bit of this in the next segment with Anthony Banda, but, they have enough right now in terms of guys that are optionable and guys that are coming back from injuries and stuff like that to put this all together. And, assuming that they don't have a string of injuries early on in the season that kind of damper that or put a dampener on that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they have guys. Like I said, this first month is great because they have all the days off. Once they get to the 6-man rotation, it'll be easier to skip starts too, because if they do have a week where there's a day off or a week where they have like back-to-back weeks with days off, they can just, hey, we're going to skip you this time, or hey, we're going to skip you that time. Realistically, honestly, the Dodgers could almost go, they're off, depending on how the offense starts off. Like they could be like, all right, Landon Knack and Bobby Miller and Justin Robleski, like you guys are all in the starting rotation up until we either suck or you guys get hurt, and then we'll bring in the next cavalry later on in the year. But, that's not possible with roster restrictions and everything else. But they can almost do that and then probably get away with it.
Yeah, they would not be the worst rotation in the league like that. And with what's expected to be the best offense in the league, that does give them a lot of leeway in a lot of these ways, including the fact that hopefully there will be lower stress innings for a lot of these pitchers. It's easier to pitch with an 8-1 lead than in a 1-1 game. That's just the nature of the beast. It's less stress on your arm. You can pitch to contact more to keep your pitch count down more, all those things. So it really is a case of, we've talked last week about how the bottom of the Dodgers lineup will help the top of their lineup. This is a case where the whole Dodgers lineup will help the starting pitching staff and vice versa. It's, it's easier to hit when you're already up 4-1 too. And so definitely this team is built around being dominant on all sides of the ball.
Yeah. So speaking of all sides of the ball, the bullpen's part of that. Anthony Banda is part of that bullpen. Want to talk a little bit more in depth about him and kind of what the leash is for him if he does start off struggling. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the net. There aren't too many underdogs this year. It's the first time in a long time that the tournament doesn't have any seed past 11 or 10 playing. So a lot more even matchups. So make it a little bit tougher. Maybe go for some of the star players. Star players seem to show out in March. So, if you want to put $5 on one of those, Cooper Flag from Duke, putting up some big numbers, that might be beneficial and a lot easier than picking a winner. Whatever you want to do, FanDuel app is simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly with no waiting around. So go visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate all of you that are already everydayers. We appreciate those of you that aspire to be everydayers. And like I mentioned, this is your first time listening or watching. We're here for you every day other than 2 days a week. And anytime big Dodger news happens, we're here for you. So make sure to check us out and stay with us. And if you want to go beyond the podcast, come Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can get text directly from us, keeping you up to date with the Dodgers. And you can also get a link to join our Discord server where you can talk with other Dodger fans as games are going on, which I'm sure will get popping here once we get to Thursday. So make sure to go do that. And we're going to talk about Anthony Banda now. He pitched in Monday's game, and it got me thinking a little bit, just thinking about all this depth the Dodgers do have. And even with some of the injuries, and, some guys may be on the roster because of those injuries. And, some guys may pitch their way into feeling like they deserve to be on the roster a little bit longer. And with all the options and things available, there will be a point at some point this year where the Dodgers hopefully have everyone healthy enough to where they have to make some tough decisions, and where Anthony Banda kind of falls in those tough decisions because he's 31 years old. It's not, he's not a prospect. They picked him up last year off the waiver wire. He doesn't have any options, and, realistically, they're not necessarily tied to him other than he helped win a World Series last year. But, that a lot of guys, Brett Honeywell in a way helped last year, and, he's not here. So for Banda, I guess, what's the leash? If he gets off to a rough start and Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech come back and Ben Casparius looks really good and Jack Dreyer looks really good, is it as simple as cutting bait in the first half of the season?
I don't think so. I think with Jack Dreyer being in his very first option year, he's always going to be an option to be optioned before they would cut bait with Banda. Obviously, unless Banda was really, really bad. But, I expect Banda to pitch pretty well. And I think that, his goal is probably take this time with Phillips and Kopech out to kind of solidify himself as a key part of this bullpen. But even if he were to struggle, even if Jack Dreyer is technically pitching better than him, I would think Dreyer is the first man down, and even Casparius, I'm hoping Casparius, I think his stuff, I think he has potential to really lock himself into one of those roles. But then you've also got the fact that, Kirby Yates is not as young as he used to be. And so, that hair trigger IL could apply for these guys in the bullpen too. I think there's some element of that in the fact that Kopech and Phillips both aren't starting the season with the Dodgers, where they are being maybe extra cautious there. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see other relievers get that same treatment as the season goes on. Blake Treinen is not super young either. And we saw last year how important a healthy, rested Treinen is going to be in the postseason. The same applies to Yates, So I think we'll see the young guys filter in and out. And I think guys like Banda and Vesia are going to be guys who are expected to kind of hold down the fort as not old enough to necessarily need IL stints, although it could happen, but also kind of established guys who can face lefties and righties and really hold things down in the bullpen.
Yeah, it's interesting from the bullpen perspective. Like if you looked at it, depending how you feel about Dreyer and Casparius, Banda fits probably in the bottom three of the bullpen as it currently stands in terms of, high leverage situations. which is not a bad thing because you look at all the names ahead of him and you're like, oh yeah, well,
that's more about the makeup of
yeah.
the Dodgers bullpen than about Anthony Banda.
Yeah, exactly. But you do start thinking, well, the Dodgers got him off the waiver wire last year. If there was a struggle at the start of the year and they do come to a roster crunch and he's not going to sneak by. They're not going to be able to put him on waivers and he doesn't get claimed and anything like that. But I do wonder. I guess it's more so I don't think he's going to struggle. I don't have anything inclination that he is. Despite what his spring numbers say, Blake Treinen's spring numbers are just as bad or if not worse. So I don't think it's anything like that. I just do wonder, like, if I'm Andrew Friedman, like, what is the thought process with him? Is he expendable because of the way you got him and the way he is, and not necessarily tied to your, you didn't draft him, you didn't, you wasn't necessarily a diamond in the rough either. He's been in the majors on and off the last few years, and last year just happened to work out with whatever they gave him. So.
Yeah, I do think that they've made changes. Tonight when he was pitching, they showed his pitch usage, specifically his slider usage over the last few years and how much the Dodgers ramped it up last year. I think he is a different pitcher. And so I think he is now a valuable big league pitcher. And I think that's probably the only way that the Dodgers are valuing him, not thinking about how they got him, but what is he right now? I also wonder if the fact that he has become a bit of a fan favorite plays into it. Obviously winning is the most important thing, but Anthony Banda is very popular with the fans, especially a certain subset of fans. LL Cool B, ladies love Cool Banda, and maybe especially the Latina ladies. He's got that cultural connection to the fan base a little bit, which the Dodgers have a very diverse cultural clubhouse, but the Mexican American contingent, he's kind of one of those big ones right now. So that may play into it a little bit. I just keep going back to Brian Wilson in 2014 or whatever it was, when, he was so bad and the Dodgers just kept running him out there. And part of that was because he had a bobblehead scheduled for August. So it's like, well, they can't cut him before his bobblehead day. But, obviously Brian Wilson had been a world champion and an elite closer. Anthony Banda isn't that. But I do think Anthony Banda has enough of a track record with the Dodgers and enough good stuff, pitching stuff, that they're going to give him plenty of chances to get things right, even if he does struggle.
Yeah, when we were talking about, or when I kind of brought up this as a segment idea, I was thinking of like years past, and like guys like Phil Bickford were like the last guy in the bullpen at times over the last few years. Anthony Banda's, the way he pitched it is a lot better than what Phil Bickford was, but also Phil Bickford was a guy you could bring in. Hey, we need you to throw. We're tough right now. We need you to throw 40, 50 pitches, or hey, we need something like this. And Banda's not quite that, but I think that is where his role is if he does struggle. Hey, you're going to be the rubber guy. We need you 2 days in a row. We need you to throw 30 pitches today. We need you to go as long as you can. I think that's where like the fallback option is. And again, this is all worst case doomsday scenario. Realistic scenario is that he pitches well. And if the Dodgers do have to make a tough decision, it'll go to guys that are optionable and younger, which there are already two guys under him, in Kasparius and Dreyer, and other things that could happen throughout the year, like injuries and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's an important note. Like, all of this is in the context of, well, he hasn't had a great spring, so what if he continues to struggle? His not great spring is less than 6 innings. And so we are talking about a tiny sample size where, as we've talked about many times in spring training, you don't focus on results because you never know what a guy's working on, all those things. And so, we saw Kirby Yates didn't look great at the start of spring and now looks really good. I expect Banda to look really good because the stuff is good. The fastball has good life. The slider is unhittable when he spots it. And so I expect him to be pretty darn good, even, at age 31 and a half, and kind of lock down a spot where he is almost indispensable in this bullpen.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, bullpen talk to come. Not necessarily for opening day. I think we kind of know what's going to happen there.
I think it's safe to say Jose Rodriguez won't be pitching out of the Dodgers bullpen anytime soon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not a name, or fortunately, not a name we're going to see at the moment. But yeah, there'll be other discussions. Evan Phillips is, I think, going to face hitters soon. Michael Kopech's probably not that far behind him. And I'm sure we'll get up. Ohtani's supposed to throw a bullpen, not bullpen specifically, but he's supposed to throw a bullpen. And Jeff, I mean, I know you did the NOS preview with those guys. And, as I talk to some of my coworkers that are fans of different teams, it's just a different tier of what our quote problems are than a lot of other teams.
Yeah. If you haven't had a chance yet, you should watch that. It dropped on our channel on Monday morning. That it was a crossover episode with all 5 teams for the NL West. It was me and Javi from Padres and Paul from the Rockies and Ben from the Giants. And man, I hope by the time I got through there, I'd remember the Diamondbacks guy's name. Millard Thomas from Locked On D-backs. And we were talking about the NL West. And for a lot of the episode, I felt like I don't know if I should be here because I'm in a different situation than these guys. Like it was, I know the Dodgers are in the NL West, but the Dodgers are the NL West. And the rest of them were like, well, who can come in second place? How can we, who can try to beat out Ohtani for best player in the division? It's like everything was like, other than the Dodgers, other than Ohtani, other than this, other than that. It's like, well, I'm glad I'm here. I do make it look a little bit better, but other than that, like we are in a different situation as Dodger fans.
Yeah. And, it's one of those where it's target on the back, if you want to put it that way, but it's also, realistically, it's not that way until October because during the regular season, the Dodgers are making the playoffs. Like it would take a ridiculous amount of things to happen for the Dodgers to not make the playoffs. It's almost a formality at this point. So we don't have to worry about that. We can just enjoy the regular season for what it is. And then when we get to October, if we want to start stressing again, you start stressing again. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also another bonus episode coming. This will be at least a 7-episode week because on Tuesday morning, we're going to be dropping an episode I recorded a couple hours ago. I had the thought of doing, it's March Madness. It's opening day of baseball. It's, in a lot of ways, the best time of year for a sports fan. There happens to be, you guys know my alma mater, BYU, is in the Sweet 16. One of their assistant coaches, Chris Burgess, is also a Southern California boy and huge Dodger fan. And so I reached out to him. So I spent a half hour talking with Chris about the Dodgers and BYU basketball. And so wasn't quite enough Dodger content to justify being a full Locked On Dodgers episode, but it's going to be a fun bonus episode. And it's, if you like college basketball, BYU is a fun team. Chances are probably 80% chance your favorite team isn't in the tournament anymore. So hop on the BYU bandwagon and check out that episode. I think we'll probably drop it at like 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning Pacific time. It was a lot of fun talking Dodgers and BYU with him.
Yeah, I like when Jeff does bonus episodes because I'm not part of it, so I get to watch it and see what's so great about it. So stick around for that. We bring you different things like that. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first, last, third, second, whatever listen of your day. We appreciate you. You can become an everydayer by listening, watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. For another one of your listens, you can also check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast with host Dominique Martino and Matthew Ane. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube. You can also go beyond the podcast, come Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com. Not Jeff Subtext. joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can get text directly from us, keeping you up to date with the Dodgers, and join our Discord server to talk Dodgers with other Dodger fans. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or if you're at home, tell your smart device by podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.